Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about getting your students to think like a social scientist. So political scientist, historian, geographer, and economist. Here we go. So many of you have probably heard of the four hat method. So basically put these four disciplines up there, use the hats if you want to, but get students to think about what types of questions might these people ask. So when a geographer is doing their work, what type of questions would a geographer ask, and so on and so forth. If they're struggling a little bit, you can show them a list like this, or you can create your own if you like other questions, but get them to try and brainstorm what these individuals might ask when they are studying something. And then if they need some help, here are some examples. Once they have an idea, you're going to get them to look at a modern day example or an example that really connects to them so they can flex these muscles with some content that's a little more accessible. So find what works for you there. Then you can get into more content-based stuff. So this would be an example of Ellis Island. Even if students don't know this is Ellis Island, there's all types of questions they could start asking when looking at this image. You could also look at charts and graphs. So we have a baby boom example here, but they can look at this graph and use all four of these disciplinary thinking practices to think about what this graph is telling us. You could also use a quote, one that a historian might say, who said this? When did they say this? What else was going on? And all types of other things that could happen there. You could also use an excerpt. So you could go a little bit deeper. I've seen some people actually color code. So each sort of thinking hat or discipline is one color, and students have to explain why they think that particular quote goes with that particular color. And then lastly, you can also use the themes, right? So some of these might lend themselves a little sort of more straightforward. So something like location, somebody might put with geography right away, but something like culture, maybe, you could put it in all the different places. Or, you know, like many things that we like in our class, there's more than one right answer as long as they can back it up. So what do we talk about today? We talked about thinking like a social scientist, short and sweet. Some things to think about as you're sort of planning this out. What's an accessible topic you could use to practice the technique? What's a good stimulus? How are you going to get them to think in all four of these categories? And then lastly, how are you going to organize it? You're going to jigsaw it. Are you going to have each group will have their own, et cetera, et cetera. So some things to think about when it comes to execution. So hopefully this helped, and thanks for watching.